Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is April 25th. It is a Friday, which means it is AI, robot, and nonsense.
One thing I know about you, Krista, you love tech naming conventions.
Oh, my gosh.
And OpenAI has chosen to go in reverse. What's wrong with them?
OpenAI's new GPT-4.1 AI models focus on coding. So apparently these are optimized and they're smaller, but 4.1 is newer than 4.5, but optimized for coding. So they
Clear as mud.
They think it makes sense.
But they're getting rid of 4.5, right? Or one of the 4.5s?
Yeah, because it's too much overhead.
Anyway, it's going to do coding, and they have a new tool that's going to make that even easier for you.
OpenAI debuts Codex CLI, an open source coding tool for terminals, because nobody likes Cursor. Cursor isn't great. I didn't care for Cursor.
But did Cursor have command line? Because I used it in the IDE, and it was terrible.
I like Aider, AIDER. It'll let you work however you would like. It'll work fine from NeoVim, but VS Code and that sort of thing.
But it also will create and move files.
Yeah.
Which gets weird with version control.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, I don't want to undo that. But yeah, this is the next iteration of replacing you. And it's pretty good.
I don't know which AI tool it is, but one of them on their GitHub issue tracker has a thing that's like, this thing destroyed 3 months of work and there's no getting it back because they were just like, auto AI do everything. It's like, oh, your project is terrible. I'm going to delete it. They apparently didn't have backups or version control. So the whole thread is just talking about
Would you say that ruined the vibe?
It definitely did.
And one thing that AI is doing is destroying all privacy. And you might be thinking, oh, yeah, they're scraping up my data. No, not just that. They're actually a tool for people to stalk you based on anything you post to social media.
The latest viral ChatGPT trend is doing reverse location search from photos. So you post a photo and you ask it where the photo is taken. And if you read how it reasons through the photo, it has that artificial general intelligence vibe to it, doesn't it?
It's probably scraping stuff from a GeoGuessr.
Well, not as that, but remember, it can do plants. If it sees a certain kind of weed in your yard, and be like, oh, I know where that grows. And a variety of little things like that.
But they didn't ask it to do that. It just was like, oh, I should do that. In the example photo, it's like, oh, where has black and yellow license plates? Oh, that's here.
And Google, one thing we know about the Google ad platform is that they don't really police it that hard. And they seem to be happy to take fraudulent money that is clearly money laundering or something else, or, some kind of ad fraud campaign. But now it's easy to stop it.
Google used AI to suspend over 39 million ad accounts suspected of fraud. I'm sure that not one person was swept up in the AI thing accidentally.
And I'm sure that person easily got on the phone with somebody and worked it right out. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Nope. Google's known for their great support.
Oh, I have an engagement challenge for the audience that made me think of this. It's like, do any of you out there use one-time or disposable credit card numbers? Because I like to use those for things. And I've noticed that whatever the fraud detection thing is, it does not care for one-time use credit card numbers anymore.
You're not going to turn my subscription off. I need that subscription. And OpenAI have all the money in the world, but maybe they don't have a good plan going forward. They're getting threatened. So what does big tech do when it gets threatened? It starts buying.
OpenAI in talks to buy Windsurf for about $3 billion, Bloomberg News reports.
Windsurf's the same kind of thing we were just talking about, the vibe code for you type of technology. So clearly, they're looking to move further in that direction. And Google DeepMind, I guess you could give them credit for being forward thinkers, at least in the space, right? Google's not kicking it out of the park, but they did early work, and now they're maybe preparing themselves for a future.
Google's DeepMind team is hiring a quote-unquote post-AGI research scientist. What does the world look like when we have AGI?
It'd be funny if they keep hiring those guys and they just keep jumping out of windows.
It's weird. Nobody knows why.
Don't look into that looking glass, sir. Nothing good in there. And, that we were promised that AI would not do automatic policing or, automatic surveillance or anything like that. It's doing all of those things, and even more than we ever predicted.
The algorithm wasn't supposed to keep people in jail, but it does in Louisiana. The inmates looking for parole, the algorithm says no one is deserving of parole.
So it only considers your criminal record, which that's kind of fair, but they pointed out one edge case where this guy was blind and wheelchair ridden and like basically just waiting to die. And the algorithm was like, nah, we think he'll offend again. I mean, he could, I guess, technically. I guess he could just like shoot into a crowd. I don't know what his crimes would be. And of course, we have killed all the bees.
All of them.
Now we need to eat, and our plants cannot be
Cross-pollinated.
because there's no bees. So what do? Of course, robots to the rescue.
Harvard's RoboBee achieves stable landing technique for crop pollination. And look at the tiny RoboBee. Look at it.
It's pretty big.
I'm hoping that with all the AI advances, we will figure out how to genetically enhance the bees and come up with super bees. So, because that's less work than the robots, probably.
There could be unintended consequences.
Yeah, there's a whole documentary about that called Jurassic Park.
It's probably fine.
And now we're doing the dire wolves already.
Yeah.
So. Now, my question about this is this little guy is probably kind of expensive, don't you think? What happens when a cardinal comes down and just snatches him up?
Yeah.
Microplastics right into the ecosystem.
I mean, for sure, it'd probably be bad for the bird, right? But I'm saying, like, if you had a swarm of these things, how many birds are just going to eat them?
The genetically modified bees gets us closer to Senta-Cow. That's the future.
And we, of course, may soon need to leave the planet. And it seems like Mars is not going to be hospitable. And even if it is, it's going to be Elon Musk's company town. So you don't want to go there. So maybe this place will be better.
Are there signs of life on alien planet K2-18b, or is it just a lot of hot air? Yes, there is in fact the signs there are compounds that are only produced by life. Although there is one of the two compounds may be produced by a chemical reaction, but probably this is an ocean world.
But here's the big caveat: is we just sort of glanced at this thing with a telescope not designed for that, and they were like, "Oh, look, it might have that." Now they're pointing a bunch of new telescopes at it. But they're like, yeah, we're not even at all sure that we saw what we think we saw.
It's much larger than Earth.
It's an ocean planet. It's like that one in Interstellar that's got the giant waves. It's completely unhospitable.
That's great. It should take us, I would say, years to exploit that.
It's 120 light years away, too, so it's going to take us at least
a short jaunt.
A couple centuries to get there. Minimum.
Well, I know one team that can cut that time at least in half, right?
Yes.
I mean, because these are hardcore space explorers, and they know everything about space travel and all that kind of things.
Katy Perry, Gayle King, and others reflect on their brief but historic trip to space. They went to space, and that was the thing.
They barely went to space. They only went up high enough to get the anti-gravity effect.
It was really like space tourism.
They called themselves astronauts, though. Or at least Katy Perry did.
I suppose technically they are.
She's like, we've been training for days. And I was like, gosh, that's such a slap in the face to actual astronauts.
She also kissed the ground while when they returned. So, that's neat.
People have not reacted well to this.
It's kind of a bad time to be doing a big press event like this when people are, struggling.
And also to do the whole like girl power thing, but only choose fairly attractive women who were famous for not space. How many female astronauts are already out there who've gone through the training who have not been up?
A lot.
I don't know if any of them have Grammys, but should that really be the selector? And we love black holes here, and obviously, Krista, this one has been waiting. This is your personal black hole that's going to kill you. The only reason it hasn't done that so far is because it's been asleep.
For the first time, astronomers watch a black hole wake up in real time.
It gets an alarm, and it looks down at its little phone, and it's like, kill Krista. That's the alarm name.
It emitted a pulse.
Of hatred.
Yeah. Well, if you have like a piece of metal and you bang it into another piece of metal, or you have something massive and you bang it into something else, it does produce photons. Like light is emitted from that, and we don't completely understand that process. And isn't at its core a black hole just banging stuff together through the extreme gravitational forces? So
perfect explanation of black holes. Just bang rocks together. It's the same thing.
And then you get spaghettified at some point.
If any of you have ever done, like IT work or help desk or whatever, this is going to feel really good. This is going to be catharsis.
The headline is New Study. A lack of intelligence, not training, may be why people struggle with computers. Yeah.
So they did a study where
PEBCAC.
they usually in these studies, they let people say like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But this one, they actually made them sit down and do it. And they observed everything about what they did. And then they would like teach the people to do it. And they're like, now do it again. And they started to think like, maybe some of you are just never going to get this.
Have you seen? This is one of my favorite videos. So it's like watching the user use the thing you designed, and it's basically just someone putting like blocks in hole, like that game for children. But the first one, it's like a square, and they put it in the square, and the person watching goes, "Yeah, that's a square one. Good job." And then she picks it up, and the next one's a triangle, and she's like, "Okay, put it in the triangle hole." And then they slowly put it in the square hole, and it's just like that over and over, and you just watch her face fall. That's what my day job is.
It does, you have to not fall into the trap to think that you're superior, right?
Right,
'Cause that's
yeah.
another kind of problem that you can have. But
Everyone's an idiot.
But it does feel like some people just can't.
Every time you think you've built something idiot-proof, the universe builds a better idiot.
Maybe it's percolating some in that black hole. And I've had a CT scan. You guys have had. I know you've had one.
I've not had one.
Oh, well, you're lucky because they'll kill you.
CT scans projected to result in 100,000 new cancers in the U.S. It is ionizing radiation, but it's just a really low dose. But these scientists are saying maybe we should look into this more because it's actually we're doing CT scans more than ever, and maybe we should not do those with reckless abandon.
Did we ever get an answer to why those 8 nurses had tumors?
Not yet. There's also a lot of emerging stories where there's a colon cancer subreddit, and it was like, oh yes, I have all the symptoms, but they said I'm too young, so I had to lie and say I had blood in my stool, and they did a CT, and it turns out I have colon cancer.
Well, it's terrible, and it is awful. Here's another thing that you know about. When you have a rare problem, doctors are just like, oh, it's probably definitely this other thing. And then you're like, no, but
Can't confirm.
I've already said that. No, we've been down that road. It's not that. And they're like, no, it totally is. You wouldn't know. I'm a doctor. Well, this fella had that problem, and his is so rare, he gets to name it.
Ligma could become a recognized medical condition thanks to one man's rare disease. It's genetic. It's not, so it's genetic. But they were like, hey, what do you want to name it? And it's like, Ligma?
Well, he went to the H3 podcast to ask them.
Oh, wow.
And it does make sense because, the joke is immediately, it's like, oh, what do you have? I have Ligma. What's Ligma? Yeah, that's the joke.
Highbrow.
That's a nice way to break the ice when you're about to tell somebody that you have a horrible
Disease. Yeah.
Plus, how mad can they be at you for burning them on that one? And like we said, prisons, you don't get a lot of anything, and healthcare is definitely one of those things that you don't get. And maybe there's a darker side to that.
Lawsuit alleging Alabama officials illegally harvested inmates' organs can proceed, judge rules. So basically this was signing up inmates for the organ donation program after they died.
And not giving them health care up until that point. Now, their argument wasn't, we didn't do that. They did it. For sure did it. Their argument was, because we're a state agency working toward our mandate, and this hospital is another state agency working toward its mandate, we're immune because of that transaction. That was their defense.
Seems a little paper thin.
Seems paper thin. The other horrible smoking gun here is the reason they wanted inmates in particular is, and there's a quote, one of the doctors was like, it's a lot better to study big tumors. And these guys don't get health care. So their tumors get really big.
Oh.
And that's super easy for us to look at.
That seems like a human rights violation.
Cruel and unusual, maybe.
Yeah.
And here in the U.S., we are on a book banning tear. Boy, it's mostly the right wingers looking to get rid of like the gender based stuff, but it's both sides of the aisle who are attacking. And plus, all politicians write books now, which is insane. Who's buying those? And, it's just going
Russia.
maybe. But like many malignant diseases, it spreads.
Librarians in the UK are increasingly asked to remove books as influence of US pressure groups spread.
Don't read.
There were also, at the footnote of this, there were a lot of religious texts. Different religious groups are, it's like, hey, we want to remove these books that are critical of our religion. And it's like, interesting.
They do have the KILIP, did they pronounce that? Ethical framework, which says that should not be restricted on any grounds but the law. That's a good rule.
Yeah.
Until the laws are written where it's like, you can never criticize this thing ever again.
Yeah, but at least, there's nobody else is making the decision. Like, you have to go through the lawmaking process. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do that incorrectly, but yeah. Speaking of doing things incorrectly, the follow-up to maybe the most infamous festival ever.
Fyre Festival 2, quote unquote, postponed just weeks before it was scheduled to start.
I'm so surprised right now.
You might not recognize the Fyre Festival by name. It was the one where it was just the one Willy Wonka actor, and there was like 5 M&Ms for hundreds of children.
It's not that.
No, it's not. This was the one that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Fyre Festival 2, this guy was like, yeah, we're going to do it in Mexico at this certain place. And he sold tickets. And then he was like, oh, I'm giving all the money back. But don't worry, we might do it again. And somebody called the place in Mexico, and they were like, what? We don't know anything about that.
Oh, my gosh.
It's postponed. It's not fraud, definitely.
I read this somewhere else, and this just blows my mind.
Yeah. If you are going to the Fyre Festival and you are borrowing money to do that, you are a moron. And you should not do that. And you should not do that for any festivals.
A Coachella weekend is so expensive that more than half of attendees used a payment plan. There is no one out there that is willing to give you money for a payment plan for this that is not going to take advantage of you in a big and egregious way.
Coachella has like a partner who does this for them.
Yeah.
But it's insane.
They fund it themselves.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy part, right? So some of you are out there thinking, oh, wait, can I burn Coachella? Can I go and never pay? No. It's basically layaway. You pay in advance, like 4 months in advance, and you make all of your payments, or you don't get the ticket. And if you miss whatever you paid into it, you get credit for next year, but it expires in 12 months. Also, nachos, I saw a screenshot. Someone was selling nachos for like $80.
I gotta go.
Can you imagine?
The other thing I saw, and I'm not super familiar with like the festival circuit, but someone else had made a comment that they had gone and they were like, it really was just like I was being advertised to aggressively. Like all of the booths were like, it wasn't just like some guy selling T-shirts out of the back of a van. It was like, this vodka brand experience or something.
So it's like $600 for a weekend pass, parking, and all that's like another $150. There's convenience fees and stuff. If you're looking at a hotel, at least $1,000 for like a crappy hotel, and then food while you're there. So they expect $4,500 for the weekend would be like an average price. And down in Florida, they have a weird relationship with the weather. If you recall, they were shooting at the hurricanes at some point, and now they've decided to outlaw weather entirely.
Florida lawmakers warn anyone trying to manipulate the weather that they face a felony. I thought this might have to do with the people that were spraying sulfur into the air, maybe. But it's like, don't try to manipulate the weather.
Does this count like praying for rain?
Yeah, I think it does.
What about rain dancing?
Yeah, forbidden.
Now there is a company that's launching some stuff up right now that like
the sulfur thing.
Like there's no legality, right?
Yeah, it's a little. I think they put that on pause because people were like, "Wait a minute," and it was because apparently the cleaner diesel for the shipping ships in the ocean, the sulfur and the pollution would seed clouds, which would reflect sunlight into space, which is apparently part of why the planet has started to warm much faster the last couple of years. That's because we used cleaner diesel.
So many unintended consequences. Perhaps we should stop meddling. And,
you clicked out of it. USA
USA
Today
is awful. I think last week I said that Dr. Oz was the worst celebrity appointment. I'd say she's a close number 2. But hilariously, my dad, who is an older gentleman, always says A1. And I'm not sure if he's just doing it.
This is a typeface problem.
I guess. I don't know. But the A1 company, they seize the reins.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon confuses AI with A1, the sauce brand, and A1 has capitalized on that. So you got to watch this speech, because she had this speech and she said A1 a lot. Like a lot. Somebody wrote this speech for her to not sound completely incoherent, and she had no idea what she was saying.
But she got it right a couple of times, too. So, like...
I'm imagining her staffer who wrote it is sitting behind her the whole time, and just the first time she says A1, she goes, okay, it's just one time. And then it, like, keeps happening. Oh.
It was like twice correct and like 100 times wrong.
She said that A1 should be in every school for every grade, and the A1 company was like, we agree. Although here's the problem with that. No U.S. public school is serving steak. And we know that, of course, the frogs, their homosexuality is well advertised. But what about the fish?
Anxiety drugs found in rivers make the salmon take more risks, apparently helping them with their anxiety.
They just had to let go,
So how do you know that? How do you measure risk-taking in salmon? Well, they got to their destination way faster this year. And when they started looking at why, it's because now they care nothing about damn turbine blades. Previously, they would stop and they'd be like, wait a minute, this might be dangerous. But now it's just like, I don't care.
It is what it is.
Dude, I'm on Xanax. What can you do to hurt me? And I want to check this out. I did not have time today, but I do love stuff like this. I like the bear cams.
I thought you meant you were going to actually go to check out.
Well, I'd be up for if somebody wants to fund my trip. I'd be up for it. Although I think it's going to be over soon.
Sweden's hottest show, nonstop live coverage of the epic moose migration. And the article talks about how the moose were a little slow getting started this year, I guess. And
no, early.
They really took off or whatever?
They're weeks early.
Oh, okay.
Because it's warmer than usual.
Ola Malmgren, moose fan. I have an interview there.
Yeah, apparently it's real popular with the older folks. Better than anything else on television, probably, right?
Yeah.
And we see this pretty much every year. If you are unlucky enough to be chosen for a goose nest, you're in for a bad time.
We can't even leave our house. Waterloo students terrorized by angry nesting geese. So apparently they made a nest in front of their apartment. It's, I guess, the only way out of their apartment, or the easiest way out of their apartment. And so every time they open their apartment door, the geese freak out and attack them.
Now, you're not supposed to fight back against the geese, but...
They're protected.
Am I supposed to just let it attack me?
No, it's actually for your protection that they tell you not to fight back, because the geese will get angrier if you fight back.
I think I could take a goose.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have... Actually, I don't know. Like Road Rage Ryan and then a Canadian goose, that's probably a good head-to-head for anger.
If I could get my weight on it, it's done.
Just body slam.
Yeah, just grab it. If I could wrangle it.
It's biting your ears the whole time.
Yeah, but they don't have any teeth. It's going to hurt.
They do have teeth.
Do they?
Yeah.
Tiny little...
Yeah, I mean, little rows of razors.
They say when if you're going to be attacked by a dog, if you have a jacket or something, you wrap it around your arm and you give it the arm.
Oh, yeah.
I think I could give the goose the arm.
As an offering.
And then get it by the neck, right? That's the strategy.
What if it just darts and grabs your other arm like it knows? It knows what you're trying to do. It's smart.
I'm not saying I want to go up against the geese. I would come out of that with damage. It's not worth it. But if I have to,
yeah,
I think I could win.
Not the Canadian geese, but I've definitely been attacked by ill-tempered geese, like one or two, because I was just, wandering around or got too close to something. And you just, you can tank it. It's fine.
I guess that's what you have to do, right?
You got healing potions. You're fine. Oh, that was the last story. It was our last animal story.
Woo!
That's it for the week. We will see you guys in the next one.
And be sure to check out the Links with Friends channel for the short bonus episode where we reflect on the insanity of the week.